Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about the appeal of a post-apocalyptic setting. This comes from a good question from Vault 5 Dweller, who asked, I've had this question for a long time. I was wondering if you could talk about what continues to draw you to the post-apocalyptic genre. Back during Fallout's development, I believe you chose post-apoc for the game as you were looking to circumvent a flooded fantasy RPG environment. Correct. At the same time, you seem to have been a dedicated consumer of fiction in the space, from Mad Max to A Canticle of Leibowitz. Correct. What are the tropes, themes, and general attributes of the post-apocalyptic genre that continue to compel you? I was introduced to post-apoc through Fallout, and therefore I really love to learn your thoughts, and also about some of your favorite works. Well, that's a good question. I will say that I am drawn to post-apocalyptic settings. I talk about this at length already in a video called The Influences on Fallout. So I'll link that below. So if you're looking for some of my favorite works, especially books and movies, that's there. So a big question would be, why do I like the post-apocalyptic setting so much? And I can think of three reasons: familiarity, expectation, and the absence of authority. Because remember, I talked about a lot of my games have this theme of power corrupts. So having the absence of authority lets me explore a lot of what corruption will do to NPCs and to the player. But I will get into that. Let's start with the first one, familiarity. What I love about a post-apocalyptic world is it's usually just this one, but ruined. So a lot of it is already very familiar to the player, meaning you don't have to explain things. There are buildings and there are cars, the technology in general, an elevator, a computer. You don't have to explain this. Anyone playing the game knows what it is because it's just our world destroyed. And this importance about not having to explain things, I have a whole video called Science Fiction versus High Fantasy, where I talk about between the two, the differences in developing games for them. And the difference was with fantasy, people already know a lot of tropes about fantasy. They already know what a vampire is, or a zombie, or a dragon. So you don't have to explain these things as much. People know what they are. And a lot of people said, well, Tim, a lot of these games have twists on them. But you have to understand, having a twist on a standard zombie, you're relying on the fact that the people playing your game already kind of have an idea what a zombie is. That's why your twist works, because they have a familiarity. They know what a zombie is. If you said, oh, this is a movie about bleeboos, people are like, I don't know what the hell bleeboo is. And there's a twist there. It's not the bleeboos you think. I'm not thinking anything. So that familiarity is something that's really important. And science fiction often doesn't have that. I mean, people talk about, well, it has spaceships and it has aliens, but it usually has to explain those aliens. I mean, there's no way people are going to say that a Wookiee is the same as the aliens in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. People have to be introduced to them and learn what they're like and get some kind of explanation of that alien. And the tech is the same way. One of the first things people ask in science fiction is, well, how do they go FTL? Is it hyperspace? Is it warp drive? Is it a jump drive? What is it? And they usually have to explain this at some point, because the method of FTL frequently provides either part of the plot or restrictions on what the story can be. Like usually, well, we can't jump right after we've jumped. It takes 20 minutes to refill the jump drive capacitors or something. Those restrictions help you make a story, but you have to explain that to the viewer, because in science fiction, almost everything is new. That's not true in post-apoc. At most, in post-apocalyptic, you have to explain what caused the apocalypse. And guess what? Sometimes you don't even have to do that. You can the player starts in a ruined world and there's all these, old people myths about what happened. You don't care. You're just trying to survive. So that kind of familiarity is just something I love about post-apoc. It lets you throw the player right into your game and you don't have to explain a lot. But closely linked to familiarity is expectations. People will come into post-apoc, when they hear the word post-apoc, they will come in to it with expectations. Now, of course, there's all kinds of different post-apocs, and all of them come with different different expectations, which primarily come from the reason there was post-apoc. For nuclear, for example, players are going to expect radiation and mutants and maybe giant animals, because the 50s sci-fi movies with all their atomic monsters, they really laid the groundwork for this. They did a lot of the heavy lifting for us already. We all know what Godzilla is, so when you are actually playing a game and there's, oh my god, there's a giant lizard coming at me, you're like, hope it doesn't breathe lightning or something. But if you switch to a different kind of post-apoc from, say, a disease, again, we've seen tons of shows that are like that. Suddenly, once you introduce disease, it's like, well, who survived it and who's infected? And you have that tension right there built into the world. In addition to all the other post-apocalyptic tropes of how you're going to get food and how you're going to survive and all that stuff. Alien invasion comes with a similar set of expectations. Alien invasion means you got aliens. What are the aliens like? What do they want? Why are they here? What kind of weird alien tech do they have? Did any humans help them out? Were there any traitorous humans? Or is every human just fighting them? What's going on in this world? These are all things you can explore, because once you hear alien invasion, there's all these expectations you have. And the game will have to meet those expectations somehow. Maybe they'll answer them. Maybe it'll just be obvious if you pay attention to the setting. Or maybe you won't get all your questions answered, because I'm a big fan of leaving some mystery. But what I like about that is, once you have expectations, you can subvert them. Fallout is a perfect example of us doing it at the very beginning and the very end. We do it a lot in the middle too, but if you want to think of how we bookended it, the very first town in Fallout you come across is Shady Sands, and they welcome you. I mean, yeah, they're a little suspicious. They have to be. I mean, they live in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, but there's no high tech in it. There are no monsters in it. It's just people in a little walled town just growing food and raising cows with 2 heads and trying to survive. And that was fun. It was like, okay, that's not what I expected. I thought I'd leave the cave and everything would be attacking me. And then at the very end, after you've played the whole game and you're like, these mutants are bad and the death claws are bad and all that, you meet the master, who's nothing like you've seen before. I mean, the master is weird. And he's smart, and he has a reason for doing all the things he did, and he explains to you his plan. And you're like, that's not a bad plan. Humans have sucked. But you can talk him down from it, or kill him, or blow him up. But what I love about it is the master was the ultimate in subverting expectations. Actually, if you want to really get ultimate, it was Leonard's idea to kick you out of the vault at the end. And I was like, what are you talking about? So anyway, Fallout bookends subverting expectations at the very beginning and at the very end and all the way in the middle. And you can only subvert expectations if people have them. Post-apocalyptic comes a big bag of expectations of what people think they're going to get. And then finally, and probably my most favorite, and I've talked about this before, is post-apoc provides a complete absence of authority, which lets you ask the question, how do people act when no one's telling them how to act? And I'm talking not just NPCs. You can explore a lot of NPCs and how they behave, but how will the player act when there's no one's going to come after them, or it's not going to be like a big army or police force. At best, it may be a bounty hunter or something. When they act badly. So because of that, you can now explore morality in a way it's hard to explore in the other games. And there's a famous quote of mine, and I even looked it up because I said it once, like 25 years ago. My idea is to explore more of the ethics of a post-nuclear world, not to make a better plasma gun. And people have trotted that out for all kinds of things they want to support. But what I was saying there is the ultimate reason I liked post-apoc and why I liked making Fallout was this absence of authority allowing you to explore morality. It wasn't so we could make cool plasma weapons and power armor and all that, although that's cool. But that wasn't the reason. That was like, if Fallout's a cake, that stuff is the icing. The actual cake itself is that gray morality stuff. And you will run around the world and you see some people trying to do good and rebuild civilization, and you will find other people being really bad and killing people and raiding settlements and saying, we're just trying to survive. And sometimes they're not even pretending to do that. They're bad. They know it. They don't care. They don't want to work. But to the player, I've always wanted the game to ask, what will you do? Okay, here you are. Blank slate player, what are you going to do? How are you going to behave? When no one tells you what to do, are you going to be a good person or are you going to be a bad person? Because as much as I love the Ultimate series, and I met Richard Garriott, and he and I gabbed for a long time because we liked each other's stuff, is his games expect you to be good. Fallout has no such expectation. It's an entirely different kind of game. By the way, that was the whole point of end slides, and it's why we created them and put them in, because we wanted, when the game ended, we wanted you to, the player, to go to know we watched you. The designers anticipated some of the horrific stuff you did, and here's some slides explaining all the horrible stuff that resulted from your actions, and good stuff, but also bad stuff. And if you want to see how we implemented it, I do have a video on how we implemented end slides. Link below. So, kind of in summary, I love gray morality. I love it. It makes people self-reflect, something a lot of people don't do. I mean, just look at politics or online. I love that about the game. It also makes people want to replay, which is a big part of Fallout. Replay, make a new character, act differently. Anyway, those are the 3 big reasons I liked doing post-apoc: the familiarity, the expectations, and the absence of authority. And I hope, Vault 5 Dweller, that answered your question.